Hi, Tony. This is Amy. I just feel like I need a little screen time with you since I missed Monday. I can't believe it. We might try next Monday at 8:30. And I can certainly make that if you can, so let me know. So I did put on your blog some comments. I read through the IEP. It's so interesting how similar IEPs look across states, all the same components, which is good. And I thought it was a really good IEP. You did a nice job on it. But of course I have some comments I wanted to share with you. And this is on your blog, but I'm just going to kind of review a little bit. I did think on goal number 2, this is what I'm talking about here, the use of the FM to facilitate access and use of peer strategies. So you only had one strategy for his using the FM, and that is passing it around. Well, I'm wondering what other strategies he needs in terms of the FM. And one you had mentioned in your your assessment was that he didn't often ask the teacher to make sure the teacher had the FM, and then passing it around, that's a really hard thing to do. I wonder if there's some other things like putting the FM, if he's working in small groups, in the center, kind of on a microphone, or using it even as a microphone. There are just lots of ways to do it that are kind of fun, but the idea was good, and I think repair strategies are great. You might look at some of Anderson's success with students with hearing loss for some specific strategies, and that may actually have come out of your assessment. So that was good. The reading information, I felt like I needed more, and that's sort of what I'm talking about here. I think because he's a child with hearing loss, I want to know what his speech perception abilities are and what his speech abilities are. What can he perceive and what does he produce speech-wise? And so some of the things that you're getting maybe out of your listening and spoken language class, for example, just observing and listening to him using, noting what sounds, you have a checklist in that piece of information that you can use to help you understand what sounds he actually is using. There may be some information from the speech and language pathologist as well. But I want to know what he hears and what he uses. And so I'm thinking of something like the CAST, which is that blue box. It's an auditory listening, and it breaks down the skills into things like short vowels, long vowels, consonants, blends, digraphs, all the things that are really important to reading. The other tool that I recommend here is Haggerty's phonemic awareness curriculum, because I didn't know what phonemic awareness skills he was using. Segmenting, blending, rhyming, manipulating and making words. What can he do there? Because that, again, for a child with a hearing loss, that is so key that he actually has that and has it at a kind of at an automatic level. And so those were my suggestions there. Your tassel, I think it's really a useful tool. The only thing I would say, you put him at level 3, and you want him to do more than level 3. So I might shoot, first of all, your subject, verb, object, prepositional phrase structure is going to be key because you want him to use prepositional phrases. So I think that's important. 2 clauses joined by a conjunction, and then I might even add a clause with 2 clauses with a conjunction, just to kind of get you aimed at certain sentence structures, in addition to the syntactic elements that you selected. And then in terms of how you measure that, I would continue to use the language sampling, where Moog does have, or the tool does have, a leveling system that talks about emerging and acquired being at least 50% of the time. Well, maybe you say acquired when you see him use it spontaneously 25 times. That is, to me, real documentation of his use. I do comment a little bit about the 4 out of 5 idea. I think that people, districts do different things, and so this seems to be their pattern. To me, however, I think 80% makes more sense, because then I can define how many times I'm looking at, as opposed to 5. I think it's kind of just a pattern, and I guess I'd like to see it be something you could actually measure. I like the idea of checklists. I think all of that is good, and I like the fact that they're using informal as opposed to always formal assessments. I didn't get a measure of vocabulary, and one way to do that really is to look at recommended kindergarten and first grade, because you're shooting towards first grade with this little guide. First grade word lists, and doing through observation and through your work with him, understanding what words he has, what words he doesn't, and setting your goal to be the first grade vocabulary list. There are vocabulary tests, but this is a pretty easy way informally to do it. The inferential question, I guess it's goal 4, where you're talking about questions. He can answer how, why, inferential questions. That's a good goal, but I would really ground it in the content. You say content reading, but I would also ground it in grade level, kindergarten and first, because this is for next year, so you really want to push him into first grade. My overall, I think, great. My basic concerns about kids at this level really being kind of intensive with instruction. I think footprints is really good. What it doesn't do is it doesn't take out those pieces that are really hard for children who are deaf and hard of hearing, like speech perception, using listening skills, and really those early foundational reading skills. And so that would be my concern, that he gets some really intensive work, because he is really a first grade in terms of age. I understand he's kindergarten, but you expect he's really kind of at the end of kindergarten with the fact that you've held him back. And you want to get ahead of the game, as opposed to always feeling like he's kind of behind in the game. So good job. And you do. I meant what I said in my last email, which is you are beginning to sound like a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, which this is a great experience for you. And you have great people to work with. So good. All right. If you have any comments, you can do video, but you could also just add them to the blog or email me. Thanks. See you, Tony. Bye.